I want to thank each of you who are here today. I want to thank each of you for your service. As a former federal prosecutor and as a former county prosecutor, I know firsthand the risks you're put at when you do your job, the risks you face each and every day in doing your job. And as Attorney General, I'm also keenly aware that law enforcement across this state is asked to do so much more each and every day with so much less. We're asking you to be part mental health counselor. We're asking each of you to be part substance abuse counselor. We're asking you to be marriage counselors in cases of domestic violence. We're asking you to be big brothers and big sisters. We're asking you to be mentors. We're asking you to intervene in times of crisis and negotiate difficult issues in your communities. And you don't need to tell me how each of you across the state have stepped up to fill all those roles. I see it and I read about it each and every day. Whether it's from policing our streets and highways to going to a classroom to read a book to a student, from dismantling a violent drug organization to reviving somebody with Narcan on the side of the street. You're doing so much more than was ever expected of you when you joined this profession. And those are just the things we hear about, because there are so many things that we don't see. We don't see in the media those instances where you might buy somebody a meal, where you might talk to a student, where you might go into a school, especially now in the wake of what happened in Parkland, just to reassure a student or a family or a teacher that they're safe. And here's the thing, you're doing all of this at a time when your job is so much more dangerous than it was ever before. According to one recent study that I looked at, law enforcement officers are 3 times more likely than any other profession to get hurt at work. And you don't need me to tell you the difference between this profession and any other profession when it comes to being harmed on the job is that you don't know where that next threat is going to come from. Regrettably, line of duty deaths continue to claim more and more officers each and every year. In 2017, there were 134 line of duty deaths. Already this year, I think there have been upwards of 25. Most recently, on March 6th, we lost Clinton, Missouri police officer Christopher Ryan, who was responding to a routine disturbance call with 2 other law enforcement officers who were also shot, and Officer Ryan didn't survive. In the past 4 years, we've lost upwards of 13 law enforcement members in this state alone. But, while we may grieve with the law enforcement community when a life is lost, you have to live it. You know the families, you know the sacrifices, you know the pain. And most of all, you know the fear that it could and it will happen again, because that's just the reality of the job that each of you do. And if all of that weren't enough, you're doing all of these things against a backdrop, really in a climate where your every move is being second-guessed and scrutinized by the media, where sometimes out-of-context cell phone videos that capture only a portion of an encounter are then used to improperly paint an entire profession. That's the new and sort of incredibly demanding and incredibly complex environment in which you're called upon to execute your mission. As Attorney General, I'm here to let each of you know that as a state's chief law enforcement officer, my primary responsibility is supporting law enforcement in this state in executing this mission in this difficult environment, to help you execute your mission safely and effectively in this environment.